Yes.
in the same country.
Yes.
How has it been working with the field, and what do you see? How do we complement and supplement each other?
It's been an outstanding experience till now, personally for me, and we've seen some outstanding results as well. I think the most important thing is we believe this is our biggest differentiator against our competition, against everybody else around us. To have totally, if you add up, it's 6,000 people in the SAP community within labs, GD, and the field organization. Now, it's a huge strength that we are talking about. Now, where we can complement is, as I said, for the first time, we are seeing a convergence of the market demand, of the skills from the technology point that we can bring coming together, right? And the talent. So you see that SAP India, for example, is now one of the fastest growing markets in APJ. So there is a huge business that is coming out of India. We, for the first time, have now really been known as one of the best employers in the country. So there's an amazing talent that is happening. And now, of course, there are different priorities. We work on completely different ways. But if you find a way to work together, I think we have an absolutely unique value proposition that we can provide to our customers. And I think in the past, for whatever good reason, we were working, in silos, but now we have come together and we have seen some outstanding result. TechEd is a great example. It was always looked up like a labs event. But today I must say it's an SAP in India event. Our field guys have contributed as much as the labs team. So even though it may look like an event, but I think there's a huge strategic value in making an event of this scale a success.
Right. So looking at this, what do you see are the priorities for 2012 for Labs India?
Mm-hmm.
You have talked about innovation, you talked
Yes.
about the transformation,
Yes.
you talked about the collaboration with the field,
Yes.
and we're 30% there.
Yes.
So we've got
Yes.
70% more to go.
Yes.
But what would, if you have to say count three things that you would like to do on priority?
Yeah, I think, Sundar, one of the things that we need to do for me is really now do a lot of things in a sustainable way. As I said, the last 1.5 years has been really about raising the bar in every area that we've worked in. And we've been extremely successful. But I think it's very important that we ensure that the bar stays there. And I think we need a certain time to stabilize all the good things that we have done and put processes in place so that it is in a long-term way very sustainable. It's like the TechEd by itself. Moving from 4,000 to 10,000 was a leap of faith. But I think what's more important that we keep it at 10,000. Of course, we're adding another 4,000 through the students that we promised for next year. But really to ensure that we plug all the gaps that we saw this year and make it an even better event in terms of the sheer quality of the event. So I think it's not about numbers anymore. Of course, we wanted to have 10,000. But I think next year we need to start planning, starting Monday onwards, to really look at what were the things that we could have done better. So I think in every transformational journey, you need to at times stop and look back and see how do you make it sustainable. For me, that's the priority one. And as I said, building thought leadership. These are ongoing things which needs to happen over a long period of time. And I think once all of these happen together, content ownership and great products, these are all results of doing all these things in the right way.
Right. Ferose, we've got so many youngsters all around us, there's so much energy.
Yeah.
And many of them look upon you as a youth icon and someone who's one amongst them,
Yes.
but who's made it very big in the SAP
Yes.
world and the world outside. How does it feel to be a youth icon like that?
I never thought it that way, Sundar. I think I always considered myself as young, no doubt about it, but not an icon. I think it's there are so many outstanding people, and I think every time I meet people who have achieved so much in life, it only shows how less you've done, and that's the hunger that I always have, the hunger to learn, the hunger to be able to inspire others. And I think the bottom line is you have to be paranoid about learning day in and day out. And I think the rest is all just happens. If you're doing things with the right intent, the world will conspire to make things happen.
Right, right. And so if there were three leaders, I know leadership is a favorite topic of yours.
Yes.
That you think you've been really inspired by?
Yes, yes.
Who would those three people be?
I mean, number one, maybe it sounds very cliched, but I've always said this: Mahatma Gandhi is somebody whom I've followed for years. I've lost count of the number of times I've seen the movie, and I've read extensively about Gandhiji. So he's always been an inspiration. But in real life as well, as I said, we need to see icons in real life because that's where you get the real inspiration from. And I'm very fortunate to have worked very, very closely with Dr. Kiran Bedi. And I've known her for close to 5 years now, very, very closely, more like a family member now. And I always say, whenever I'm on a down, I always just try to spend a few hours with her. And she just inspires me, and I don't need any other inspiration to run that extra mile. So I think it's very important for individuals to have role models in their life, and role models that are accessible. I think that's very, very important. So she's been a huge role model, and of course Dr. Kalam, and again I've been fortunate to have met him a couple of times. So I think these are the three people whom I look up to.
Right. So if I were to imagine, I don't know when it's going to happen, maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, if there was a autobiography that you would like to write, assuming that you would like to write, or somebody else decide to write a biography, what will be the title of that book on VR Ferose?
That's a difficult one. Yeah, but I would say, how an ordinary guy changed the world.
Okay. How an ordinary guy changed the world.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of personal humility, I would say. And if there were 3 books that you would recommend to people for them to read and get inspired by, because I think you've transformed yourself from starting your career as a developer, and you've been in a managerial position, and then you got this opportunity to work with the executive board of SAP, and now you're leading a team of 5,500 people. What would be those 3 reads which really inspired you, which struck a chord, and not just inspired you, but inspired you to act, and specific actions on those lines? Which would those 3 books be?
Maybe, as I said, I've read a lot of books, and it's very difficult to pen down the top 3. But if you categorize in, say, business books, so very early on I read Maverick, and I must say that a lot of my style, I wouldn't say was inspired by Maverick, but it kind of I could relate to what was written in the book, where I believe that if you do what you did, you will get what you got. So if you want to fundamentally transform, you can't do what you did forever. Then you will get the same result. And Maverick came across as a book where the person was bold enough to try completely radical things. And there is always a risk that you take. And I am a risk taker in many ways, because I think that's the only way you challenge yourself. So Maverick is an outstanding book, and I have recommended this to everybody. The second is what I'm reading today of late. Is called The Medici Effect. And incidentally, I didn't know about a book called Medici Effect unless I spoke to a friend of mine and I told him what I'm trying to do in Labs India about creating a culture of innovation. And he said, by the way, this is what the Medici Effect is all about. And then I read the book and I found, wow, there seems to be a lot of similarities. So I think that's a very interesting book. And the third book, again a business book, is during the transformational journey, I was looking at getting hints about how large organizations were transformed. I've never transformed, or rather been given the opportunity to transform an organization of this scale. And that's when I read Louis Gessner's How Do You Make the Elephants Dance, something of that kind. And there were some very interesting aspects he wrote about, which I've implemented during the early days of the transformation. So I think these 3, though I must say these are all business books, that has given me some very deep insights.
Great. So thanks so much, Ferose, for being with us and sharing very, very important lessons. I'm sure you're going to have a great decade going forward.
Thank you.
And looking at all the crowd and the energy around us on day 3, I can assure you guys it's been a tremendous 3 days, and people just don't seem to be wanting to go back. I think probably we should look at a 4-day decade next year.
Yes.
And so thanks once again for being on our show.
Thank you.
And thanks guys for being with us, and hope to see you next year very soon.
And I must say this before I end. I want to thank you, Sundar, personally for taking the challenge. you know, I just created this bold goal, but I think you are the one who executed it. So thank you for a great job done.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ferose. Thank you. Thank you once again.